pasties, how are you all doing? Hope you're all doing really well and keeping healthy. So this is our last week before half term. So this week we'll do a video, next week there won't be a video. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I thought I will make this one a little bit like home comforting, something to enjoy during the holidays. Well, to be honest, if you're working from home or you're staying at home, holidays or not, it's not going to make much of a difference. But still, let's take it as a holiday season, as it's half term, and we'll make something a little bit tasty, healthy, quick and easy. So here I have the perfect ingredients for what you're probably seeing on the title. Yes, this is a cheese and mushroom pasty. Now, we've made pasties before, but we've made vegetarian corn pasties, we've made bean pasties. We haven't particularly made a pasty with some like root vegetables. So today I'm going to be using mushrooms. Now these are chestnut mushrooms. I was going to do mushroom and courgette pasties, but I assumed I had courgettes in the fridge, and I went and did all my like weekly shop. I came back and realized it wasn't courgettes, it was cucumbers. So my husband did that in the previous shop, and I thought he had bought courgettes, but obviously he didn't. So yeah, sorry about that. But yes, but you can just imagine or using any vegetables you like in this pasty. I'm just giving you the basic instructions of how to make a really quick and easy pasty at home using ready-made puff pastry. Now make sure when you do go buying the pastry, it's puff pastry, not short crust pastry or phyllo pastry, because although you will get something as a result, it won't be the same texture as a pasty, as in the kind of thing that you buy from Greggs or Wenzel bakery. Right, so we want to give it that kind of comforting feel, that it's something that's short brought. Now with a lot of the things that I make, and I tell you that you can actually make them beforehand and freeze them to say for a rainy day. The same thing applies to pasties as well. You can freeze these and you can take them out on a rainy day and bung them in the oven and they'll be done. So the reason why I like the Asda's own puff pastry brand is that they don't use any alcohol. Otherwise, some of the branded ready to roll sheets, puff pastry sheets, have alcohol in them. So if you're someone who doesn't drink alcohol, prefers not to have alcohol in your food, then this is something good to go with. And it's vegetarian as well. Actually, it's vegan, even better. Right, so let me tell you the steps that we're going to go through. So we're going to cut the mushrooms, and we are going to really lightly just shallow fry them, not even in any oil, just literally 1 teaspoon of olive oil, just to get them a little bit soft, because chestnut mushrooms are almost twice as raw as normal mushrooms because they're quite hard in texture, but because they've got this nutty kind of flavor. And if we were to rely on them completely cooking in the oven, they will still have a bit of a bite to them. But if you want them to be kind of soft, melting in the mixture, you want them to be half cooked before you put them in the pasty mixture. So first things first, we're going to slice up these mushrooms and slightly saute them until they're kind of soft, half cooked. And then I've got some pre-boiled potatoes here that I just boiled a little while ago, and I've got some onions that I chopped as well. So the cheese and onion pasties that you buy in Greggs or the shop bought ones, the basic ingredient in them is mashed potato and onions, and then they add the cheese and all the other stuff. So this is the basic ingredients that you need in any kind of pasty. You need onions and mashed potato, right? And then I've got cheese. I've got the 4 cheese blend. So this has got like mozzarella, cheddar. It's got the red cheese as well, I can't remember its name, and it's got jack cheese, which is not very easy to find. It's an American kind of texture. Right, so first things first, let's slice the mushrooms because they will need a few minutes to cool down. Oh, also, we're going to also be making a coleslaw to go along with our pasties, and that's going to be using cabbage and carrots and a few other ingredients, which I'll show you towards the time. And it's really easy as well. Right, so let's slice these mushrooms, and I'm not peeling the skin. You don't need to peel the skin, and I'm not cutting this bit as well, whatever you want to call it. And just in case you're wondering, is it washed properly? Yes, I really washed them really well. There's little bits left here, but that's part of the mushroom. It's not dirt or anything, so you don't need to worry about that. Right. Okay, be careful. Do not cut yourself like I probably was about to. Okay. I find cutting mushrooms so therapeutic because they're like this spongy, velvety kind of texture. and they're so easy to cut comparison to something like an onion or a carrot. I can cut mushrooms all day long. Mushrooms and courgettes, I love chopping. There you go, look, I look like I'm a pro, but I'm not. It's just so easy to cut, to chop, should we say that, okay? Right, so we've got them in slices, but I don't want them to be poking out of the pasties. So we're just going to quickly cut them a little bit like that as well, and make them into little shreds. Don't put them in a blender, please, or a food processor, because they will become mush, and really you only want to use mushrooms in a food processor if you're making mushroom soup, which is really good for, but right now we don't need that. Okay. And once they're all done, they don't need to be fine. Okay, you don't need to be Gordon Ramsay when you're cutting mushrooms to put in a pasty. Okay, oops. If my mum watches my videos, she's going to be so mad at the way I'm cutting. She's going to be like, you don't look like a cooking tutor the way you're chopping. But the whole purpose of these videos is to show you that whether you're a professional cook or not, whether you're an experienced cook or not, my recipes and the things that I show you how to make here are things that everybody and anybody can make. And sometimes the videos that I make, I send them to my nephews and nieces as well, who are like in the late teens, like 17, 18, but because they're off in uni, they try to save money by making food themselves, but they don't know anything. Unfortunately, my brothers and sisters haven't really taught them much, so they look at my videos and they learn a lot, and it's not something that they will watch and feel like, oh god, this is too complicated and too hard for us to do. Anyone can make these recipes, and that's the whole point. Right, so let's get a pan. I'm gonna get a pan and add all the mushrooms in there. Right, and I'm not going to show you the process of this on the cooker. It's really simple. I'm just going to add 1 spoon of olive oil, a little dash of water, and then I'm going to put the lid on. I don't want the mushrooms to get soggy. I still want them to have the nutty texture. So literally going to be on the stove for about, let's say, less than a minute, about 55 seconds, okay? Right, so while the mushrooms are getting all soft, I'm going to get a fork and I'm going to start mashing the potatoes. So I boiled these about 2 hours ago, so they're a little bit cold now, but that doesn't make a difference as long as they're soft. This one's a little bit hard, but that's fine. Right, and you know, usually I tell you don't peel your potatoes. You don't need to peel your potatoes. I would have not peeled these potatoes, but some of the pasties I'm going to make today, I'm going to be sending over to my mum, and my mum has a gastro problem which she cannot digest too much fibre, especially when it comes to the skins of vegetables and fruits. So that's why I have to make sure that I peel, especially when it comes to potato skin. I peel the potato skin because she won't be able to digest it. Otherwise, you know, if you're making it for kids, if you're making it with someone with normal dietary needs, I would say do not peel the potatoes, because potato skin is what contains all the good ingredients in it, all the fibre and the vitamins. Okay. Right, once you've mashed the potato, mix in the onions. I'll write down all of the ingredients and the quantities, so it's literally half a large onion if you've got a medium size, and a full medium sized onion. The bite and the taste of the onion gives a really nice texture to a pasty. I think cheese and onion, well, they go together for a reason. We've got a packet of crisps called cheese and onion for a reason. They're just made to go with each other. Right, once that's mixed, I'm going to check on the mushrooms. Yeah, mushrooms are almost done. I'm going to add in half a tablespoon of salt, just a bit more than half, and half a tablespoon of pepper. And that's really our spices and the seasoning done. And then I'm going to add some Cajun seasoning. If you don't have Cajun, Cajun is cumin. It's basically cumin and a bit of paprika. If you don't have Cajun, you could just use some what was it called? Cumin seeds. Yeah, that's it. Sometimes you just have those blank moments where you just forget. Now this looks like a lot, but it's actually just half a spoon. But because I'm having to take, why did I just not open this side? Oh, seriously, sometimes. Oh, there we go. Right, there we go. And I'm going to give that a good mix again. And now I'm going to open up my cheese. Now, because I'm making a bit of a large quantity of pasties, I'm going to be adding in quite a bit of everything. But in my in the ingredients, I'm probably going to give you some very basic, just enough for about 2 or 3 pasties, and then you can take it from there. So this is probably about half a packet, which is going to be about 100 grams of mixed cheese, which looks like a lot, but it's not a lot. Okay. And then we're going to give that a good mix. And I'm also going to add in some cream cheese. Now, you don't have to add in cream cheese. If you want to make it a bit less fattening, you can skip the cream cheese. If you want, you can add just some mayo. But the reason why I'm adding cream cheese is because this is going to be our main meal. We're not having any protein with it. This is basically it, and I need this to be filling for the family. Yes, again, looks like a lot, but this is going to be divided in about 8 pasties. Okay. And then give that a good mix. This may take a few seconds, but trust me, it'll be well worth it. Right, our mushrooms are done. They're still a little bit hot. If I did have time, I would have waited a bit because I don't want the cheese to melt. But even if it does, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to add in the mushrooms. Oh, they smell so good. This reminds me of a hospital canteen. I know you're probably thinking, what? Hospital canteen? You know the restaurants, the cafeterias in the hospital? I always used to have a mushroom soup whenever I would go to the hospital to visit anyone, or I had like a month where I was doing I was part of a research, and I used to go at lunchtime and have the mushroom soup in the canteen, and this just reminds me of that. Oh, I used to love it. Right, I think we've done mushroom soup before. If we haven't, remind me. I will do that maybe the next lesson that we have. Right, now I did add a little bit of salt and pepper for the seasoning, but this needs a bit more of a kick. Now you can add some chili sauce if you like. You can add some sweet chili sauce or anything that you think will go well. I'm going to add a little bit of chili sauce. This is not a must. This is just something to give it a bit more of a kind of a spicy ting kind of flavor. Right. Make sure, please, very important, when you cook your mushrooms, you remove any excess water, otherwise it will make this mixture soggy, which will potentially leak through the pasties and make your pasties all soggy, which you don't want. Right, now that looks like a really good mixture. There are some lumps of the potato, but that doesn't really matter. If anything, that will give a nice bite to when you bite into the pasties. Now let's roll out our ready-made pasties. Now before you take out your pastry, make sure you prepare your oven tray. Now with the pasties, you cannot put them bare onto the oven tray, otherwise they will stick. You need to have some kind of in-between material to help them, you know, just slip off without sticking and gluing. So I've got one of my silicone mats, which is really a lifesaver in my kitchen. Right, let's put this on the side. And now we will roll open our puff pastry. This is like the best invention in supermarkets. Seriously, if we were to make this from home, well, I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's just long, very long. And if you're a busy person, even if you're not a busy person, I mean, only if you've got time on your hands, then maybe it's a therapeutic thing to do, but not for me, I'm sorry. Right, so I've got my pizza cutter here, and I'm going to simply divide this into 4. Each quarter is going to be 1 pasty, and that was so not good, but oh well, it will make and do for what we need. Right, so we're gonna get our filling. I'll do the big one for you guys. Right, so we're gonna actually, yes, let's do the big one. We're gonna get our filling. Oh, that looks so good. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I like to stuff my pasties because everyone's only gonna get one. So make sure that they get a good amount of filling so they don't complain that I haven't made enough dinner. And then it's so simple. You just turn it around and just poke your fingers like this, and this is just so easy. Make sure please that when you roll out your pastry, you've just taken it out of the fridge, leave it out for maybe a minute, not more than that, otherwise it'll get really soft and difficult to handle. Right now it's really easy to handle. Now if you want to be a pro, then you can get a fork and give it a little design, make it look pretty, make it look like you put some effort into it, but actually only me and you know how easy it was. Right, and then get a knife and just make a little slit for any ear to come out so it doesn't pop around from anywhere. Now the finishing touches, what we need to do, just gonna put this on the side. Now just before this goes in the oven, and this step is very important, you need to give this a quick egg wash. Now if you're a vegan and you want to avoid using egg, then you can simply use milk, any kind of milk, whether it's cow's milk, almond milk, coconut milk, or soya milk. You just need, or you can even use water, but water might not give it that shine that milk or egg will. So when we were kids, my mum used to always use milk, but then as we kind of grew up, we said, oh, we prefer egg wash, you know, we're posh. So but yeah, old is gold. I think milk does just the same, but we like it a little bit more gold and shiny, right? And I've got my brush here, and just give this a generous egg wash. Oh, that's a bit too generous, but it's because I've got a small pot then. Now I'm going to put this in the oven, and this is going to bake. Now while this is baking, I'm going to make the rest of the pasties, and then we'll jump to the coleslaw. Okay, so I've got the rest of the pasties in the oven, and now I'm going to move on to the coleslaw. Now for the coleslaw, I'm going to be using a white cabbage. Now if you wanted to, you could also use red cabbage as well. Traditional coleslaw is made with white cabbage, but you know what? Why not change up things? And there's no harm in using something different. Right. I'm going to use just, now remove the outer layer. Now this is a little bit, stick your hanger out. Right, and then we're going to get a grater, a normal cheese grater, and we're just going to grate this cabbage. It's going to make a bit of mess, but it'll be worth it, trust me. Okay, almost there. And make sure you don't cut yourself. Okay, let's take those bits out. There we go, there's our cabbage. Oh wow, so fine. Now cabbage you can use for so many things. My favorite two things to use cabbage for is, one is coleslaw, and two is Chinese fried rice. I love adding cabbage in that. But for Chinese fried rice, I like to use red cabbage. I think it just gives such a lovely colour. Now what we're going to do is we're going to be squeezing out the juice of the cabbage, because otherwise it's going to make the coleslaw all wet and soggy. Now I think I've mentioned this before, but if I haven't, cabbage water is really good for two things. One, for dry skin, and secondly, it's really good for inducing breast milk. So if you're someone who's just had a baby and you're struggling, you know, breastfeeding, using cabbage water, if you soak it in a towel and put it around the breast, it really helps to kind of induce milk production. And this is a old mother's tale, but trust me, it works. Right, and we're going to do exactly the same with the carrots. And I've not peeled the carrots. I always tell you, don't peel the carrots, don't need to. The only reason why we peel carrots is to fashion them, otherwise they're perfectly fine as they are. I'm not going to bother washing my hands because we're going to have to squeeze the carrots as well. Okay. Oops. I'll have a little bit. Almost there. And I'll eat this bit as well. And we're going to squeeze this water. This is so satisfying. Right. And I'm going to squeeze this water as well. And let me just quickly clear this worktop up before I get back to you. Now, a traditional coleslaw is made just out of cabbage and carrots, but I'm going to also add an apple in it as well, because it's going to give a nice kind of fruity taste, almost like a Russian salad, obviously without the other veggies. And you would be thinking, why am I not using the grater to grate this as well? I don't want this to be so fine, because I want to be able to taste the apples. You can add sultanas, you can add nuts, you can fashion it any way you like, as long as you do the basic. Okay, and then just going to cut them in small little squares. And this is going to give our coleslaw a really different touch. You can even add apricots, nectarines, grapes. Grapes go really, really well in coleslaw. Right, so we're going to add our apples in there. And then the secret ingredient, well, it's not actually secret. Most of you probably know that you need mayo. I'm not going to add too much mayo. And then a little bit of seasoning of salt and pepper. Again, not too much. So just half a spoon of pepper. That's half a spoon, and a pinch of salt. I'm not adding half a spoon of salt, just a pinch of salt, because our mayo already has a little bit of salt in it. Now you need a bit of sweetness in the coleslaw as well. That traditionally comes with sugar, but I'm going to be adding some honey instead, because I think the honey kind of enhances the sweetness of the apples. Okay, and then we're going to give this a good mix. Oh, that looks so good. You know the cabbage, when it's grated in the grater, it almost has this velvety look. Really, really tasty. I love mixing an egg and making omelette, cabbage omelette. And I think we've made cabbage parathas before. If we haven't, that's also a really, really good stuffing for stuffed parathas. The traditional one is cabbage, but you can add a radish, but you can add cabbage as well. Right, and there you go. There is our coleslaw done. If you want it more wet, you can add some yogurt or some sour cream. But for me, this is perfectly fine. Obviously, comparison to shop brought coleslaw, it's a bit dry. But I mean, we prefer it that way. If you want, you can add a little bit more coleslaw, more mayo or yogurt. Okay. Okay, ladies, so our pasty is now done, and that looks so amazing, I cannot tell you. So this is what I was saying about the silicone mats. Oh, it's too hot. If I was to turn it around, you'd see that it's absolutely flawless. It's not attached at all to the oven tray. Right, and we're gonna add some coleslaw in a pot that's gonna go alongside our lovely pasty, and this is going to be so exciting. And I'm going to cut this in half to show you what it looks like inside. But you probably can imagine already what it looks like inside. But can you see the reason why we made the hole on top? If we want to make the hole on top, there's so much hot air building up inside that it would have exploded from the side somewhere. Oh, can you hear that crunch? Right. And there we go. There's our pasty inside. Smells delicious, and it's absolutely going to be tasting delicious as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video today, and I shall see you for another recipe, not next week but the week following. All right ladies, take care, have fun, and hope you try this at home, and if you do let me know how it works out. Bye bye.